Story 1. The Cadaver That Wasn't Dead. I still remember the first day of anatomy dissection in medical college. It was supposed to be routine, just another lesson, another step toward becoming a doctor. But what happened that night changed me forever. We were assigned our first cadaver, a middle-aged man who had been brought in earlier that day. The air in the lab was thick with the stench of formalin, a smell that would soon become too familiar. The professor gave us the usual instructions. My hands trembled slightly as I picked up the scalpel. The first incision was always the hardest. As the blade touched the skin, a faint gurgling sound echoed through the silent hall. I froze. My lab partner looked at me, eyes wide. "Did you hear that?" Before I could respond, it happened again. A low, choking noise, coming from the body on the table. We stepped back, panic rising. One of the senior students chuckled nervously. "Relax. It's just post-mortem gas, escaping, completely normal." But something felt wrong. That's when the cadaver's eyes snapped open. A horrifying, guttural gasp escaped from its lips as its body jerked violently. The man's chest rose and fell like he was trying to breathe but couldn't. Someone screamed. Instruments clattered to the floor. A few students fainted on the spot. The professor rushed in, pushing past the chaos. He checked the pulse, his face turning pale. The man wasn't dead. Somehow, he had been mispronounced dead hours earlier and placed in the anatomy lab for dissection. He had been in a state of catalepsy, a rare condition where the body mimics death. No pulse, no movement, no response. We had almost cut into a living man. The doctors rushed him to the emergency room. Miraculously, he survived. But from that day forward, I could never enter the anatomy lab without hearing that gurgling sound in my head. And sometimes, late at night, when I pass the lab, I swear I hear slow, shallow breathing from inside. Story 2. The Ghost of the Dissection Hall. I never believed in ghosts. Not until I stepped into the dissection hall after midnight. At my medical college, there was an unspoken rule. Never stay in the dissection hall alone, especially after dark. The seniors joked about it, whispering stories of a student who never left. A female student, brilliant but overworked, had supposedly collapsed in the hall one night while studying. Some say it was exhaustion. Others claim she took her own life. No one knew the full story, but everyone agreed on one thing. She still lingered there. One evening, I stayed late, cramming for an exam. The hall was eerily quiet, the faint smell of formalin heavy in the air. The cadaver tables were lined up in neat rows, covered with white sheets. I was alone. Or at least I thought I was. Then I heard it. Soft footsteps. I turned, expecting to see a professor or another student. But the hall was empty. I shook it off, blaming my tired mind. But then, the footsteps came again. Closer this time. I grabbed my books and rushed toward the door, when suddenly, a shadow moved in the corner of the room. A figure in a white lab coat, standing by the last cadaver table. I let out a breath. Oh, sorry. I didn't see you there. Are you locking up? Silence. The figure tilted its head slightly. The overhead light flickered, and that's when I saw it. She had no face. Just a blurred, water-stained void where her features should have been. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled backward, knocking over a tray of scalpels. The sound echoed through the hall. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she spoke. "You're staying too late." The lights went out. I ran. I don't remember reaching the dorm, don't remember unlocking my door. But the next morning, when I woke up, something felt wrong. My lab coat smelled like formalin. And on my sleeve, there was a dark, bloody handprint. The next day, I checked the security footage from the hall. It showed me running out in terror. But the corner where I had seen the woman, it was empty.